What's up, everyone? Here it is. It is my first comic review. This comic is just too good for me not to do it, so I'm finally gonna do this. Gonna review this comic. I know I think it came out a week or two ago, so it's a little late, but I just got to it. It's so great. It's so awesome. So here it is. X-Men Legends issue 1. X-Men Legends, not to be confused with, I thought it was like going to be a comic adaptation of the beloved game I played as a kid on the Nintendo GameCube, but it's just the title X-Men Legends. What they're doing with this series is, from what I understand, they're going to pick up a lot of subplots that didn't get tied up in X-Men history, Chris Claremont, Fabian Nicieza days, lots of just, they had so much stories to tell, subplots on top of subplots, and they're finally getting to this one to kick off this series, a subplot of the third Summers brother. So we got front and center on the cover Scott Summers, who is Cyclops, and Alex Summers, his younger brother, is Havoc. And but the focus is going to be on that guy, Adam X, who I didn't even know who he was before I read this. I went in pretty vanilla with that guy, but it's cool anyway. I love what they're doing, and this book is written by Fabian Nicieza of X-Men fame. That guy, great writer. He's been writing for Marvel for a very long time. And we got Brett Booth, one of my favorite artists. He's so good, and he's basically a perfect pick for this book. He's very, you know why they tapped Brett Booth. He's very 90s style art. Uh, and that's the time period that they're jumping back to. Uh, so I'm gonna get started in this. And here we go. Awesome cover too, by the way. It's a little misleading. Apocalypse is not in it. You know, you got the X-Men or X Factor uh, X-Men back there in that corner. Storm. They're not in this. They're not in this issue, but this is the issue 1 cover, so I'm sure they're going to get to it after this story wraps up. So pretty exciting. Here we go. Starting things off with Eric the Red. Eric the Red. I think he's from the Dark Phoenix storyline, one of the generic space bad guys of that time. It's been so long since I've seen these characters that rewatching the X-Men 90s cartoon on Disney Plus has really helped me into knowing these characters, knowing the story. If you don't know that stuff, this might be a little confusing. I wasn't lost at all because I just watched them tackle all the Dark Phoenix, Shi'ar, M. Crystal stuff in the cartoon. So when I saw Eric the Red on the first page, I was like, oh, that's cool. I just saw him on the cartoon, which is pretty cool. Really cool drawing. Brett Booth, really good with anatomy, really good with muscles, making Eric the Red look like a total boss. Um, and he has an army of these minions, these vicious guys called the Crystal Claw, and they are at the Providence Hospital in Anchorage, Alaska. They're kind of storming the place. They're after somebody. Really good job at motion, and these guys are vicious. They're just tearing through these dudes. This guy's so surprised his hat is flying off of his head, and we come to see that Eric the Red is here to kidnap Cyclops and Havoc's grandparents, these two old guys. He's going to use them as a ransom. He just looks so cool right there. He might even predate the 90s, so you can't say, oh, he's so 90s, but there's Eric the Red. He's looking, as the kids say these days, very extra, but you know what? I dig it. That's awesome. And then we cut to outside the X mansion. Cyclops and Havoc looking great in their 90s costumes. Cyclops is my favorite X-Man. I'm just going to get that out of the way. I have a huge bias. Being a Cyclops fan these days is kind of rough. I don't think he gets his due very much at all these days. But I really dig him. He's the coolest. He's the team leader of the X-Men. I love his powers. I love his heroism. and then you got Havoc, who I love Havoc's classic costume with the ring things on the top of his head. But I just kind of started getting into the 1990s X Factor by Peter David, and his 90s costume's really grown on me with his hair coming out and his jacket looking thing. So they're just wrecking dudes, and I like this part where it just quickly goes over who they are. That, like, even though we all know who they are, it's still nice to have that little description. Cyclops generates optic blasts of pure concussive force, not heat. So that part made me laugh because it's almost like a misconception that it's heat vision. I think the movies kind of went that way, which I didn't mind. But yeah, it's not heat vision. They're lasers that come out of his eyes. Havoc channels ambient cosmic energy into a plasma discharge. Really fancy way of just a really fancy way of saying he can shoot laser beams out of his hands and his chest. It's like another way of giving him laser like powers like Cyclops. But I love how he's always been drawn to shoot his blasts like with circles and like perfect circles kind of projecting from his hands or his chest. Really makes really good visuals. And I reckon these dudes, I like that Alex is kind of the jokey one. He's the younger brother, and then Cyclops has this line telling him to focus. And then getting some good shots in here. I love this, line. Why would they have attacked us in broad daylight? I was almost wondering the same thing when I was reading this. And then Cyclops responds, "Would it have mattered if they'd done it at night?" He says, "Good point." Says good point as it leads into the next panel. Really nice kinetic motion. I love this shot. I love it when Cyclops's visor, it's a long visor. His name is Cyclops though, so it is cool to me when artists take advantage of that and make like a singular kind of something to focus on, like right in between the eyes, because it kind of goes in line with how his name is Cyclops, and it can do that. You can't do that when it's just his eyes, but with a visor, it kind of, you would imagine it would connect the light and the energy, and then they do a sweep as they call it and just wreck everyone in the forest, and it was kind of like an Iron Man 2. Why didn't we lead with that kind of moment? But really cool. I guess he says he didn't want to damage the environment around him, but desperate times call for desperate measures. And notice that Brett Booth, who I can't say enough good things about, just takes up all the space. He doesn't waste any space with his drawings, even with Cyclops and Havoc, just shooting lasers. He's taking up everything with smoke, making everything look like it's moving. The colorist is doing a great job. Who is this? Let me flip back. Who's doing the colors over here? Guru FX. Okay, yeah. I don't think that's a name. That might be like a studio or something. But I buy a lot of Marvel that they do the colors for, and I'm always pretty pleased. And then so they beat those guys. They were more of Eric the Red's men. There's Professor X and his awesome floating yellow chair from the 90s. Since watching the X-Men cartoon now, I used to hear Patrick Stewart's voice when I read Professor X's dialogue, but now I just hear the voice actor from the X-Men cartoon, which is a little distracting because he's always like yelling in pain. But yeah, a little bit of exposition. They go to Anchorage, start investigating. Cyclops luckily is able to read Shi'ar language and pieces together that their grandparents were just kidnapped for ransom. And then bam, it just totally changes. Just goes into Adam X's origin, who I don't know anything about, so this is all new to me. Maybe this is finally the telling of his origin, or maybe it's been told before. But this is pretty cool stuff. And this big blue guy. It took me a while to piece together what was happening, but obviously it changed the setting, time, and place. And this blue guy can you can see he saves him. I love this part right here. Hands hardened by a life of hitting, softly protecting me. And it's kind of a little bit of Mandalorian for you, super awesome warrior, but now rescuing a baby. Rescues him from this vat. Everything's on fire. It says Adam on it. You see that there's another one that says Eve on it, and takes. I guess that's Adam X. Names Adam after the little thing he found him in. Yeah, lots of similar colors here. Helps you realize that this is all just recounting a memory with the pink backgrounds, doing some Karate Kid style training, getting good. I guess the blue guy that rescued him uh, used to be a warrior, but now he's farming. But he still taught Adam X how to fight. This kind of confused me. This memory right here looks like he's training with the other guys, and you just sliced through him with this super huge sword, this big blade. He's like smiling, he's having a good time, and he's not dead. I'm like, what did you put like all this blood right here? I thought it was like the next panel was gonna be his arm flying off or something, but maybe they're just super durable on this planet, I don't know. But Adam X is a mutant, so they didn't, he didn't know that when he took him as a baby to protect him, but then this is when mutant powers his mutant powers come up. Craziest powers ever. I guess he burns your blood. He opened a wound on that guy, and he's burning his blood now or something, or it feels like it's burning. It's causing him excruciating pain, and when Adam X does it, his eyes start glowing, and they kind of don't know what's happening, and Adam X has kind of got to learn to deal with it, and he knows that in order to find out more about his powers, he's going to have to visit Earth someday. And so that's where he's at now. Jumps over to him now. That's him. I really like how Brett Booth draws hair. Hair's one of the hardest things to draw, at least I think so, and everyone draws it differently. Once again, taking up lots of space. Adam X looking ripped, sitting in a cornfield. He's got this shirt on. What does that say? Wood Screws. I like assumed that was like a band, maybe like a band they made up or something, because that looks like a shirt that he would wear. Very, very 90s. Yeah, if you don't like 90s style art, obviously you're not gonna like this. But Brett Booth as an artist is so good that I don't know how you couldn't like this. Everything's moving, everything's action packed, his muscles are popping, everything looks cool, and nothing even superhero-y is happening right now. This kid busts him, wonders what he's doing, and Adam X starts showing off, and he throws his knife things. I love this question mark. Kids like question mark exclamation mark. It's the verbal expression of confusion in comic book form, the visual media form. So I thought these things too, like based on the cover, Adam X was equipped with boomerangs, but they are just, I guess they're just his weapons. They're like alien knives or something that are bent at a 90-degree angle. This definitely came out of the comic era of everything being extreme, the 90s, but I dig it. That's cool. Kills a snake, totally showing off. Really, really cool. Tosses it again behind him. It gets frozen by Cable, as if it wasn't getting more 90s throwback enough. Cable looking awesome. Oh my gosh, I can't even get into Cable. For you three people watching this review, I'm not gonna start going into Cable's backstory. He's pretty much Cyclops' son from the future, and he's got telekinetic powers. He's got a metal arm, and he's always known for having really huge, ridiculous guns. In fact, I could have gone bigger on this gun. That looks like Agent K's gun from Men in Black. But I wouldn't mind if like this is a gun I would see Bishop holding, because he had the big guns too. It was the 90s. Everyone had these big, ridiculous honking guns that look like these space cannons. But that kind of looks like a futuristic shotgun. I'd like it if Bishop had that. Cable should be like huge, take up all this space or something like that. But I'm not gonna nitpick. It's fine. And so Cable pretty much tells him that he's gotta finish what he started. He's gotta get down to it. Got this cool shot of Deken and the M-Cran crystal behind him, or like stuff that I just saw in the X-Men cartoon. So I was pretty familiar with it, and I was just chugging along through the story and going right along. Cable looks awesome right there, and kind of weird that Cable's telekinetic power is coming out of his weird eye and around the thing that he's floating. It's the same pink that's also in like Adam X's flashback memories, but it's fine. It's cool. Even with the pink, thought bubbles or boxes for Adam X. I guess it's to help you know that that's Adam X. Pink is his color, but he's hitchhiking. Sees headlights coming on, but then realizes that they're not to a car. It's something else. There it is again. Huh? Or it's the thought. He's thinking, huh? Turns out that it's these guys from, I keep forgetting. I'm going to read it right here. Hepzibah, the female squirrel skunk or whatever, or she's like an albino squirrel lady or something. Looking great, looking beautiful. And then you got this guy, Raza Longknife, who I always thought looked like such a bad guy, but he's on Corsair's crew. They ambush him, start fighting. Oh my gosh, she looks gorgeous right there. Everything. I love how much space her tail is taking up. Everything's moving. Explosions. Really taking advantage of the mayhem in a visual medium like a comic book. Adam X quickly pieces together that Eric the Red wouldn't kidnap his grandparents to draw him out and also hire these guys. So he knows that Princess Lilandra of the Shi'ar Empire must have hired these guys to bring him in, which I guess is bad that means Lilandra knows he exists, which means all kinds of hell for the Shi'ar Empire. I don't know why. Maybe he's the heir to something. I must have missed that. But we keep going along. I love these angled panels here, putting the focus right on Adam X charging at you, feet not touching the ground. Really, really good. Really good. Makes it feel very adventurous. I love when the feet don't touch the ground. He's just charging at you, takes on these guys. He's about to boil their blood, and then she gets zarked, and he gets fwazammed in the back by you know who it is. These boys. The boys are back in town. These guys looking awesome. I guess they know who Adam X is. They must have ran into each other in the old days that I didn't read. Really cool stuff, them talking. And even when they stand there, they look cool. Everything looks amazing in this book. Brett Booth, I got very familiar with Brett Booth when he was illustrating the Titans book that Dan Abnett was writing after DC Rebirth started. I read the whole thing. It was so good. So I was getting a monthly dose of this level quality of art, and it's so great. I'm really glad that they tapped him for this book. And they finish off fighting these guys. Adam X, I love this part. Don't like igniting my own blood like this. Can only do it for short bursts, and it hurts like hell. So he's making himself go faster. That's really cool. That's really good. That did beg the question, like, what would he do? What would happen if he did it to himself? And that's what happens. So another really nice comic book element I like that I don't see very often these days. Him flipping around, going around, jumping through all these blasts. Havoc and Cyclops trying to take him out too, because I think they just want answers. And he's just going so fast. He must have like agility, not like super speed, but like Gambit level agility, jumping through this stuff. And I love that because like when it's all faded like that, you know that it just went by or something. You're just kind of following where it goes. So super, super cool. I don't see that too often anymore. There's a little cut on all of them so he can burn their blood. Takes out Skunk Lady and Longknife, but it doesn't hurt Cyclops and Havoc. And I was kind of confused, but turns out so were they as soon as you turn the page. In fact, that's exactly what Havoc says. There it is again, huh? How are you blocking my powers? And they just lay it on thick with the optic blast and the Havoc, them shooting their lasers at him. That didn't hurt him either. That was supposed to hurt, wasn't it? Cyclops' reaction, yes, a lot. It was supposed to. You should be utterly destroyed. Who the hell are you? And then we get this awesome, cool, awesome, cool image of Corsair's ship. I think it has a name. I don't know what it's called. And I think it was like green or yellow or something in the 90s cartoon, but I was able to instantly recognize it because it's pretty recognizable. It's really cool looking. And then Corsair comes out. Corsair, Cyclops and Havoc's father, and who went off and became a space pirate from he's from that Shi'ar Empire, Dark Phoenix saga story stuff too. But he's in it now. You knew he was gonna pop up. Much to his confusion, Adam X says, Corsair's your father? They want answers. Right here, Corsair's he's looking really young. Like, he looks Cyclops' age. He looks a lot like him, which is cool. I like that he looks like him. He's his father. He should. But it's like, you'd think he'd be a lot older. He's got to look, should have like gray temples at least, if not grayed hair by now. But, pretty much tells them they want answers. We need Adam to rescue your parents. And Corsair responds, I know a lot more about what's going on than the three of you do. Scott, Alex, say hello to your brother. What? Spoiler. Sorry, I should have said this was a spoiler review for you three people watching. Yeah. So I guess that's what the popular theory was. And I guess that is, the obvious theory is the correct one in this case. Adam X is the third Summers brother. And then Corsair ends it with a prompt "Fee chow." That's what space gun sound like. And so there it is. Issue 1, super great first issue. I friggin' loved just about every panel of every page on it. Issue 2, I think the story's already going to wrap up with issue 2. Oh, look how cool that looks. They're probably going to throw down with Eric the Rat, all three of them. It's going to be great. And so what they're doing is that they're gonna wrap up this one in 2 issues, and then I'm sure that the next 2 issues they're gonna go into Walt and Louise Simonson's X Factor days and do a story from them. I love Walt Simonson. I can't wait for that one either. I didn't read any of that old X Factor stuff, but Walt Simonson, yeah, I'm in. He's a great artist. I've loved him since I read his Thor run. So yeah, very excited for what they're doing. Being an X-Men fan, not great right now. The X-Men books, they're trash. I'm not reading any of them. Jonathan Hickman, I think he's bored. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he's kind of helming the X-Men. There's like 10 X-Men books right now. I don't hear really any good things about any of them. None of them look even good enough when I go to the comic store for me to even want to pick it up and thumb through it. So, reading this that has nothing to do with what's happening in X-Men continuity right now was so refreshing. And so for reading this book, it's like the first time in years where I'm just so excited and thrilled for the next issue. I'm excited for an X-Men comic. This is great. Like I said before, if you don't like the 90s, you're probably not going to be into this. But I think that this book, it was pretty throwback. Even this corner box right here, be cool if they had like the X-Men taking up the space in that, because they used to put the characters in the corner boxes. That'd be great. And yeah, I think this is definitely part of what Marvel is doing with their subtle or maybe not so subtle really return to quality, and they're going back to really great creators, really great artists, writers who had really popular runs on this stuff. And yeah, it's great. It has nothing to do with the current X-Men books. I'm not saying go back into quality by going retro, by going 90s. Lord knows that there was a lot of garbage comics in the 90s, but it is not one and the same. This happens to be very 90s and very high quality. $5 book, well worth it. 30 pages. I'm glad it was 30 pages. It needed to be 30 pages. I love paying $5 for a book. As long as it's 30 pages. Usually if I pay $5 for a book and then it's same amount of pages as a $4 book, which is 20 pages, oh man, I get so mad. But no, this was great. Loved every minute of it. Can't wait to see what happens next. All right. Thanks for watching, 3 people. I'll see you later.